Roll for Crit is made possible thanks to the support of viewers like you and our patrons on our Patreon page.
You can become a patron for just $1 a month at patreon.com/rollforcrit.
The sun rises on a new civilization as we take a look at Tapestry's first expansion, Tapestry Plans and Ploys. Tapestry is from Stonemaier Games and is all about building up your civilization and changing as the times do between each era and seeing if you can make the most points compared to your opponents.
We already reviewed the original Tapestry, and we have a how to play video for it, so if you're interested in our thoughts or more details on that one, check those out elsewhere on our channel. This new expansion, Plans and Ploys, bumps things up, adds a few new elements to it. You've got 10 new civilizations now. So these are the starting civilizations that will determine how players play differently from one another throughout the game. For example, now there are the aliens who have their own special space tiles that they can make use of because, of course, they're aliens. There are the utilitarians who give meaning to landmarks, whereas before you would just collect them to cover up spaces in your capital city. Now the specific landmarks will actually have different meanings depending on which ones you get. Or there are the river folk who can build on top of those impassable spaces in their city. And now they have more incentive to get more of those landmarks and build more of their own buildings. And there are 7 others. We won't go into detail on all of them, but they all add some new unique twists to the game. There are also some new Tapestry cards that get thrown into the deck, including some new traps. And some of those traps have different effects that will trigger if one of your opponents tries to conquer one of your tiles. And there are a few new space tiles, so those will get shuffled into the mix, so that some of them will reward you for advancing on certain tracks. One of them actually has its own new landmark, the Monolith. And during setup, each player now begins with a landmark card. This has its own set of unique landmarks associated with it, so depending on what it is, you will have to complete some sort of a goal, and once you have completed that goal, you'll be rewarded with one of these new landmarks that you can place onto your city immediately.
They've also got a couple goodies in there just for some upgrades of the vanilla base of the game. First of all, there are landmark tokens that go on the tracks. This is mostly just to help you find out if someone has already claimed that landmark. There's an errata tile that is supposed to replace one of the space tiles. And in the rulebook, they actually have some errata for the civilizations from the base game. Most of them are to pump them up and make them a little bit stronger. After seeing so many people play the original game base of Tapestry, they've noticed some civs maybe aren't as good as some of the other ones.
Yeah, that's one of those things with games like this is people are always going to be trying to figure out the right balance. So those will hopefully fix that. I think they said they might still tweak them as time goes on, so nothing totally final. But if you had issues, maybe it will address one of those issues. So this is one of those expansions that doesn't add really any brand new mechanics. It more so adds more variety and more little tweaks to things that were already existing in Tapestry.
The biggest thing are those special landmark cards that you get at the beginning. They're sort of just there to help guide you in terms of where you might want to help go besides your civilization, which is nice. It's always nice to have a bit of a guiding hand. And another thing that's really interesting is the scenarios. There are some more solo play cards, like some personality to your autonoma, and they have scenarios now, so it's not simply just playing against the autonoma and raising the difficulty. It'll change up the rules, such as you can't advance along this track unless you advance along some other ones, or you can only use these 2 tracks, and you need to get at least this many points from this specific civilization. So it's more like puzzles for you to be solved, and they're all solo, but it does say on the rulebook cover that if you want look at multiplayer, go to their site. I don't think any are up right now, but they maybe will upload some multiplayer variants of these so you can try this out with other people.
Yeah, so if you are a fan of, playing Tapestry solo, and a lot of people really enjoyed the Stonemaier Games Automa rule sets, it's always good to have, I'm a fan of any kind of campaign, that solo style of progression that you can feel, so I think that's something that you might want to try out. Like you said, I love the landmark cards. I love having some kind of a little bit of direction in the beginning, where it's like, okay, maybe I haven't really locked into which track is the best fit for me right now, depending on what other players are doing. But I know that I want to like fill in certain spaces on my board or whatever my little landmark objective is. And that's something that I can kind of work towards in the meantime.
It also gives a bit more power to the person who is last in terms of turn order, because they're going to be the ones who pick first, with the first person getting the leftover card. Meaning that they're going to have a bit more options that make sure, like, let's say there was one that fits tech, that really rewards you for having tech. Like, well, I'm the tech civ, so I'm going to pick that. Meanwhile, let's say the person who doesn't want tech gets that one. They're like, oh, this is going to change the strategy if I want that building. Because, I mean, if you've played Tapestry, you do want these buildings. They're nice to have.
Yeah, and I love it's such a small thing, but the tokens that remind you if someone's taken it or not, really just something that is a huge
They
quality of life.
pop out on the board more because they change the color there too. So you see that like, ooh, there's still a token there. I think I want that.
One of those things that I definitely think like should have been in the base game, but I'm glad it's there now.
The civs too are really interesting and fun. I like there's ones that like make the tokens more interesting, or ones that like you become a diplomat or like deal weird things out. And the aliens, of course, that deal with space. I think they like, what have we not messed with the civilizations yet, and make people more interact with that more.
Yeah, there's the advisors you're referencing who they can like trade their tapestries with other players against their will. So they're like, no, I think you should do this, for example. Or the spies, I think, are really unique. They can actually copy some of the effects and abilities of their neighbors. So in that instance, it will matter who you're sitting next to at the table. So a lot of them are things like that, where they go deeper into existing elements of the game and try to find new ways to play around with them. And I think some of them are really, really fun. I think one of the biggest ones, again, are those utilitarians who actually use the landmarks themselves. So they will actually care which ones they get beyond just what types of shapes they fill up.
Even if they're not actually one of these civilizations, the tiebreaker rule now is based on landmarks. If you have the tallest landmark, you are the winner. So that's very interesting now. It's not just, oh, look, it's a pretty building. It's like, that one's taller.
Right. Yeah. That's a fun little thing that can occur. I also like the tinkerers, who they have like special abilities that will let them like advance really far on a track as well. Just some overall creative ones that I liked a lot of the ones in the base, but there's only 10, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but I feel like the 10 that they designed are like solid, a good 10. Like, I think you will probably have fun trying out all of the ones included. And a bunch of the new Tapestry cards too. I think they're maybe a little bit less impactful, at least on your first impressions, because obviously their civilization is really like guiding your entire method as you go. But it's still nice to have more variety in that deck.
And traps.
Yeah, and those new traps are definitely going to, keep you on your toes a little bit more, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
And they're all unique and weird. Like, I think my favorite is Surrender. You still lose, but you get rewards because you wave the white flag. I found that hilarious. Another small thing I completely forgot. Once again, it's like a lot of this was small things you don't think about, but really are happy to have, is a bag for the board tokens. You can get that yourself. It's not something that like you needed a Tapestry version, but it's nice to have an opaque bag. Opaque's the right word, right? Like, not see-through?
Yes, that's right. Yes, you don't have to like stack them into tiles anymore and like randomly shuffle them and all that stuff. Yeah, it's much nicer to reach into a bag. So a lot of quality of life improvements, some upgrades, some errata. One thing I do wish, and I understand maybe it's because they're still tweaking them, but it would have been nice to go the extra mile and have, if not brand new cards for those original civs that they've altered, at least maybe like something where you could print out like a sticker or something to put onto your old cards. We both liked the original Tapestry. I don't think either of us really loved it, but still I think a pretty strong game overall. And we rate these expansions and tell you whether we think you should buy them, just try them, or pass on them altogether. I'll just go first and say that I think Plans and Ploys, if you are a fan of the original Tapestry, is definitely a buy it category. There's nothing that really alters it in a dramatic way, but everything that's in there makes the game better. I wouldn't ever want to play Tapestry without this new Plans and Ploys stuff. And I think the new civilizations are really fun.
If you like Tapestry and you're looking for expansions, yeah, it's absolutely by no question. This is the kind of thing that's just that quality of life changes that are small but really nice. The fact you have errata written on the rule book there, so you can just see like, okay, I'm playing with these people. Okay, they have this change now. Because, these changes are because a lot of people are saying this group is weak or something. So, I mean, it sort of stinks if you don't have that. And
Yeah.
plus those scenarios, if you're more into the solo play aspect, are more like these fun puzzles to solve. Like once you've played them a couple times, you've solved it, but they're still really fun. That's the kind of things I love in a solo game. When it's not just I'm playing against bots. It's all right, let's see if you can win with one hand tied behind your back, but you get this bonus kind of thing.
Yeah, the challenges.
And I think you summed it up. I don't think I'd want to play Tapestry without this.
Yeah. So, I mean, there you have it. It's Tapestry Plans and Ploys. It will be out shortly after this video. Let us know in the comments if you've played it and which of the new civilizations do you think is your favorite to play as, and which one do you think is too overpowered and it's broken, it's not fair, and shouldn't be in the game? Because there's always one of those in there.
In addition, maybe if you've played, what do you think about those retcons to the older civilizations? Are they now more balanced, or is there some more tweaking to be done?
Yeah, let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching. This has been our Tapestry Plans and Ploys review. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this is Roll for Crit.
We want you to like and subscribe, and if you have the chance, take a look at our Patreon.
Thank you for being a friend. Subscribe to our channel and back again. Okay.